We did another backpacking loop. This one even longer. My family especially enjoyed watching the last hiking video, and since I took my new phone along with me this time and got so much footage, I'm privileged to share the adventure with you guys. So there were 5 of us. Aunt Katie, the most experienced, who organized the whole thing. Tony, by far the most wonderstruck hiker. Lucy, my cousin, and the most mountain goat-like person I've ever hiked with. And Emily, always sociable, stopping to talk to passing hikers and ask them about their life story. This hike was through the Killarney Provincial Park on the Cloche Silhouette trail. One trail sign said 100 kilometers loop, another said 78. So let's just split the difference and say it was about 89 kilometers of walking over 8 days and 7 nights. 2 of those nights were spent at the same campsite of Boundary Lake so we could travel up to the summit of the park without so much to carry. The net elevation gain was over 8,000 feet and over the course of the whole hike, and it felt like most of that was in the last half of the trail. The first few days of the trail were not too difficult, just a slow ascent to higher ground at Lumsden and then Topaz Lake. Both lakes were just beautiful, and they were the only nights we got a bit of rain. The rest of the trip was great. Several of the lakes were really blue, something to do with the immense amounts of granite lining the lakes, I think. We saw a plethora of wildlife, including loons, deer, and a huge snapping turtle.
Yeah, I got pictures. Oh, here, I'll show you tomorrow when I come on my phone. Yeah.
The first couple of days, we also adopted 2 baby squirrels, maybe mice, siblings that we found near the trunk of a tree. When they weren't rescued overnight by any parents, Lucy fed them some milk and carried them in her cup to Lake Topaz.
Oh, they're in the
in the mug on the moss.
Wow, that's kind of that's ingenious.
Cozy setup. Well, I was gonna put them in the mug anyway, and it's just better in here.
I'm impressed that you have a pocket big enough to put a mug in.
I know, me too. And that's the nature of this jacket.
I'm not sure what became of them after that. Hopefully their eyes opened and they were able to start fending for themselves. Nature can be beautiful, if sometimes in a cruel way. About the campsites. The great thing about hiking in Ontario is that there are so many bodies of water. Camping near a water source is always a guarantee. Sometimes the water looks a bit murky, but with filters and tablets, it's a non-issue. One campsite we came across, H22, was on a bluff overlooking a lake. Not ideal, since you had to scramble up and down to get water, but, still doable. The trail got steeper and rockier the deeper in we got, and by the end of it all, I did have some serious blisters. But it was totally worth it. The views were stellar, and we got to swim at every lake we stayed at. And it feels great to be clean getting into a sleeping bag, I'll tell you that much. The campsites were well maintained, though privacy on the toilets was a bit lacking, and one site was across from someone's cottage, so we were serenaded by hollering boys until bedtime.
There's a toilet. I'm not going to show you the inside, it's pretty gross. And I can smell it from here.
This trail provided so much variety, so many views, and was such a perfect challenge that Emily and I have been joking, if sadly, that it's ruined us for future hiking. It made that Algonquin hike seem quite mundane, but we're trying to plan something for the fall, and so far it looks like the Pemi Loop is our best bet. There's lots of great hiking trails, just quite a distance from where we live. I brought a few new items with me this trip. A lighter, a smaller camping stove, a flask of scotch, a lighter and smaller sleeping bag, and a new buff because my last one melted. One day I thought I'd forgotten my flask at the last campsite, so I was making my peace with the loss when Kate pulled it out of her pack with a smile on her face. That was a good day. I do regret the amount of food we brought because we had to ration it for the last couple of days, and Emily started freaking out a bit that we might waste away. Fortunately, after the last day, we came upon Susan and Aunt Vicky, who had prepared a feast for our return. What a treat. It was a tiring but rejuvenating trip, and I would absolutely do it again next year or the year after, but maybe counterclockwise, for variety. I would hike it in maybe 3 or 4 nights and bring the same amount of food that I brought for 7 nights. The average day was about 4,000 calories burned, and a backpacker accepts that they'll lose a bit of weight on the trail, because to bring enough food to maintain your weight is just a ridiculous amount of weight to carry. We met close to 10 other backpackers on the trail, and a lot of day hikers as we neared the crack on the last day. Several backpackers were leaving early due to malfunctioning equipment or minor injury, but one man we did cross paths with 3 times, who was doing the loop with his dog Maya. It was nice to see a man and his canine pal conquering the trail, considering all the steep and craggy descents they would have to navigate. If we have a dog one day, it'll have to be a tough son of a bitch that can do this sort of thing with us. That's about all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and if you have any trail recommendations, I would love to read them. Take care.
That's where we were down there. Oh, we packed the ways already. "600 meters left. Run, Emily, run!"
So maybe that's including all, like, getting to the campsites and everything?
No, it's fine. Done.